us from all different backgrounds, and it's really made me realise that it doesn't matter what barriers or even perceived barriers, because some people have these blocks that are there are ways to break through them. The bottom fell out of my career world, and I was like, well, I had no plan B. I didn't know what on earth I was going to do. As we were travelling, I was getting sicker and sicker. Joints were swelling up. I was really, really unwell. I went to the GP thinking I must have some kind of infection, and he said, I know what it is and you're not going to like it. My mum got really, really ill, and then she ended up going into hospital and then got moved to Loros, and all of a sudden, from having cancer and living with it and doing all right, all of a sudden it was like, well, this is the end. That moment when they said my name and my face just was a picture, because I was not expecting it. It was amazing. I was awarded the top 100 UK small businesses, and I got to go to the House of Lords. I am just enjoying what I'm doing so much. There is a temptation to just say, well, I'm just going to carry on doing what I'm doing. But there's so much more work to be done. So I'm doing a lot more advocacy for disabled entrepreneurs, but also for my authors, and making publishing more inclusive and accessible.
Welcome to Behind Harborough, the podcast we created to shine a light on the amazing people and communities within Harborough. We have some news today as well. We are now proudly supported by Harborough Innovation Centre, where we're recording from, and Invest in Harborough. So I'm Charlotte and
I'm Linda, and today's guest is Jen Parker. Jen is the founder of Fuzzy Flamingo, the publishing business helping people to self-publish. Jen.
Hello.
Thank you
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. So we like to talk about people behind businesses, and as amazing and successful your business is the person who created it, made it happen. But shall we start from the beginning, when you were a little girl? One thing you said was that a story about sea cucumbers. I got really obsessed with that. So
Yes.
Can you just tell us a little bit about that and little Jen?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I was a bit of a weird kid. Bit is probably underselling it. But I'm embracing my weirdness now, and I've always had obsessions, and it really helps that now obviously I'm obsessed by books and book publishing, but I've had various obsessions over the years. One of my earliest was sea cucumbers, which they're such weird animals. I saw a tiny little bit on a wildlife programme when I was about maybe 6 or 7. And it was such a tiny bit that I just wanted to know more. So my mum very much fed my obsession. So she was like, right, let's go to the library and see what we can find, because this was pre-internet days. So we went off to the library, couldn't find anything, asked the librarian, and she did her best as well, because she got really invested and she couldn't find anything. So we went to bookshops, we went to different libraries, we spent ages and couldn't find any information. So my mum said, why don't you write to the Natural History Museum? Like, that's just a normal thing to do. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I wrote this letter. I wish that I had a copy of that letter, because I have no idea what I actually said. They sent back reams and reams of information. It was an A4 pack, and it was so thick with all of this information. So I got really invested and learned everything I could possibly learn about sea cucumbers.
I love that story. Yeah, that was like, oh, okay.
Well, it was really lovely when my mum and I went on holiday on our own when I was about 21, and we went to Croatia, and we were snorkeling in this little bay, and both of us were coming towards each other and suddenly popped our heads up with our snorkels in our mouth going, because we both spotted sea cucumbers, and it was the first time we'd ever seen them in real life, and it was just so exciting.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's an amazing story. The second part of your childhood and your biggest dream, who you wanted to become, and your imaginary friend. Go on.
So the whole of my life, all I wanted to do was become a detective in the police. It was my dream, and my brother had a detective kit that had real life fingerprint powder, and it was so exciting. He used to let me use it, and we used to play imagination games all the time. And my imaginary friend was called PC Pinkerton because even he was a policeman. Bit weird being best friends with an invisible actual full-grown man, but that was it was a bit like the film Drop Dead Fred. It was kind of that kind of character. So yeah, I was obsessed.
Oh, perfect. And your mum, what an amazing lady, supporting you through all those childhood adventures. Yeah.
Yes.
So you wanted to be a police detective.
Yeah.
What happened with that dream?
I went to university. I did a bachelor's in English language and linguistics because my mum's advice was, it's good to have a degree to get into the police, but it doesn't have to be a specific one. So do what you love. And the language side of it was what I really loved. So I did that. In that, there was a module called Forensic Speech Science, which I really enjoyed. And they introduced a new Masters of Science in that. So I ended up staying on and doing that. And so I thought, right, perfect entry into the police. But I want to gain a bit more life experience. So we went travelling around the world for a year. It was me, my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, my best friend and his best friend. And as we were travelling, I was getting sicker and sicker. Joints were swelling up. I was really, really unwell. So when we landed in Australia, I went to the GP thinking I must have some kind of infection. And he said, I know what it is and you're not going to like it, which is not what you want to hear. He asked me how long we were staying in Perth and I said 2 weeks and he said no. And we ended up there for 8 months because I was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis and psoriatic arthritis. And it took that long to get stable on medication that was working and to get me well enough to continue the travels. Wow. We were able to continue our travels and I did the rest of the stops on my trip, although some of them got a bit cut short. And when I got home, I was really excited that there was a recruitment drive for the police. And I was like, perfect timing. Went to the application form and the first page said, do you suffer from any of these? And inflammatory arthritis was one of the things to tick. So I said yes. The next page came up and said, I'm sorry, you can no longer apply.
Oh,
and so
that must have been crushing.
Absolutely. The bottom fell out of my career world. And I was like, well, I had no plan B. I didn't know what on earth I was going to do. So it was obviously very upsetting because not only I'd had this life-changing diagnosis, I then had this complete career dead stop and thought, I don't know what I'm going to do.
So, sorry, just to reverse slightly, when you were in Australia, so were you in hospital or were you able to stay somewhere?
So we ended up getting jobs in Perth because the original intention was just to spend a few days up to a couple of weeks there and then travel across the south coast and work on the east coast. Yeah. And instead, we got jobs on the west coast. We got an apartment and we lived there basically for 8 months while I was referred to rheumatology and the rheumatology department had to have weekly blood tests and they were trying various medications. I was put on steroids because my inflammatory markers were so through the roof. Wow. They had to try and bring that down and then trying all different medications to try and control it.
Is this something that's in your family or was this left field?
It must be because it is a genetic condition and there are a few similar things in the same family, but nothing like mine. But apparently there can be carriers without it being triggered. So with me, it was probably, I quite likely had juvenile arthritis that went undiagnosed and then that changed into what I have now.
So how did you feel around that time being diagnosed and not even at home? You were kind of was so far removed from everything
absolutely.
You knew.
I remember phoning my mum and being just saying I just want to come home because she was always the one who was there if I ever got ill. Yeah. And she wasn't there. I was in a house with 2 boys and I was thinking, what am I going to do? And it felt awful. But then my mum said, you have been saving for this for so long. You've been thinking about travelling for even longer. You can't just come home. We'll make this work. And she was right. And once I'd got over the initial terrified, what does this mean kind of thing, then the focus on the travels really distracted me from it. It wasn't until I got home and I started thinking about, will I be able to have kids, and all of the scary lifelong questions you start asking yourself, because I could just focus on what's the next stop, where's the next bit of fun coming from.
So, your dream job no longer available, and then your super mum comes into play again.
Yes. I know.
Tell us all about how you ended up in publishing.
It was by chance, really, a bit of fluke. So, funnily enough, I was at an event at a secondary school yesterday where it was speed networking on a careers day. So the kids were rotating around the adults and we were answering the same questions over and over again. And one of them was, how did you end up doing the career you're in? So I've told this story loads in the last 24 hours.
Sorry.
No, not at all. But I wanted to be inspiring to the kids, and I was like, it kind of is inspiring because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought, oh, that might be all right. And I went for it, and I ended up absolutely falling in love with it, which shows you can go into something without a backup plan and be okay. And if you don't like it, do something else. It's absolutely fine.
I feel like now there's such a pressure to feel like I don't have older children, but like we have teens in the family in secondary school, and they're so under pressure. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to study? And personally, I feel like it doesn't, like, you don't need to make that decision right now. If you know, great. If you have a dream, amazing. But if you don't, that is absolutely okay.
And
so that must have been so nice for them to hear.
Yeah,
you to say that.
Absolutely. So I think that was the difference, really. So I was looking at the jobs I'd done part-time whilst I was studying. I had a full-time job saving up for travelling before we were going away. So I worked behind the bar for a very long time. I was a waitress. I was then a receptionist and a personal assistant for the full-time job. And then when I was travelling, I was temping. I did so many jobs. It's unreal. Did telemarketing, which was terrifying. But I worked at a farm auction at one point, which was really fun. So I had to drive golf buggies and driving people around because they had to see the farm machinery and stuff. It was so much fun. But I did really random jobs like that, which made me realise that actually I need to have fun while I'm working. So it needs to be something I'm passionate about, because I've got an obsessive personality. It needs to be something I can really invest in. And it was my mum who found a job in the Leicester Mercury, because that's how old I am. The jobs were in the paper and she'd circled it and she said, oh, Jen, I think you'd be really good at this. And I looked at it and it was starting at the very bottom in a publishing house. I was in the warehouse picking and packing books for their book orders, but doing the admin for every department in the publishing house. And I thought, well, I've always loved reading. I've always loved writing as well. When I was 13, I wrote film reviews for my village newspaper. So I've always dabbled in writing and really enjoyed it. So I thought, oh, that does actually sound like a career I could invest in, but it's not something it hadn't even crossed my mind. Even the whole way through university, wasn't even aware of jobs in publishing. So I was just really lucky. It was very fortunate that I ended up there. So because I was working in all the departments, I could then decide which one I preferred and work my way up through whichever direction I wanted to go in.
Perfect.
Yeah. So for me, it was book production. It was putting together the books. It was designing and just making everything look good and read well, and that was what I really enjoyed. So I worked my way up through that company and ended up group head of production. So I was looking after all of the different imprints in the publishing house, and an imprint is a small part of a publishing house that either looks after a specific genre or a specific type of publishing. So we had a self-publishing genre, we had partnership publishing. The traditional publishing lines had various things that were specialist, like fiction and translation, for example. So you're working with translators and stuff. So I got to have such a broad base of all of the different areas of publishing that it stood me in good stead.
Wow. But then your illness messed it all up a little bit. But then I guess, you tell us, but from what you said before, in a way, it helped you to establish how you want to work and your priorities.
Oh, absolutely. So the treatment for my illnesses is immunosuppressants. Because my both of my conditions are my immune system is attacking the linings of my joints. If I get a virus or something like that, my body produces more white blood cells, which normal people's bodies would then be used to fight off whatever you've caught. For me, that just produces more to attack the joints, and so they swell. They get inflamed, and then that in turn causes wear and tear. So I end up with osteoarthritis as a result of that. So in an open plan office, I was on immunosuppressants. I still am. So my immune system is being suppressed. So anyone bringing in, they had a bit of the sniffles, which you don't take time off work for that because you're perfectly capable of working. But they were coming in and it would give me a full-blown cold and I'd be wiped out for a week. And then I'd end up with a flare-ups where I couldn't drive to work because my feet were so swollen. And it was pre-COVID, so it was in the days where working from home just wasn't really a thing. So I was off sick so much, which then causes this vicious circle of where you're going, I'm off work, so my work is building up. I'm back in work, so I've got to catch up. Someone's really ill in the office, so I'm probably going to catch that. So I need to do as much as I can before I'm off sick again. Wow. And then it's constantly going around in a circle. And I was just ill so much. But just carried on, because you power
really another
through.
Option to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't until I was on maternity leave with my first baby, which is a whole other story of having kids when you've got this kind of thing. I realised I was so much healthier. And everyone else who I was meeting with newborns was just like, oh my God, I'm the most tired I've ever been in my life. And I was like, I've actually got like more energy than I did before because being pregnant was like immunosuppressants, but tailored for my own body. So I had virtually no symptoms whilst I was pregnant. And then it lasted for a few months after I'd given birth. And it was amazing. But also I wasn't being exposed to other people's germs because it was before my kids were at nursery when that was.
Wow. That's a whole other game,
that was a massive
it?
barrage. Yeah, absolutely. So I just felt brilliant. And then I started to have the panic creeping in as I was getting closer and closer to needing to go back to work. I was thinking, I really don't want to be that ill again. I don't want to be in that cycle. So my husband said to me, well, why don't you just freelance for a bit and then we'll see how it goes? And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And I pitched the idea to the managing directors, and because obviously it had a massive impact on them as well, having a member of staff off sick so much. It was a small business, and that it takes its toll financially as well as all the stress levels of everyone else. So they helped me to get my first freelance jobs. They gave me freelance work from them, and then I built from there. So I started freelancing for different publishers whilst doing some graphic design work for small businesses alongside it. And that's really how Fuzzy Flamingo was born. It was born with me saying, oh, I'll just do a bit of freelancing until the kids go back to school and I can get a proper job. But it ended up taking off, and I didn't want to go. I don't want to be employed.
No, you don't. No, once you go self-employed, it's so hard to go back.
Absolutely.
So you went freelancing after your employment. Then what happened from there? Did the freelancing just grow? Yeah,
so I ended up, I was doing a fair bit of networking. I went to the London Book Fair and picked up a couple of publishers there, and then it just grows because you start to meet people who then know people and you get introduced. So I had quite a few publishers I was freelancing for. Then I went on maternity leave because I had my second baby, and maternity leave when you're self-employed is...
It's not great.
No, it's really not. So I was only planning on taking a couple of months off, if that, and then easing back into work, because when they're newborns, it's relatively easy to sit with a baby in your arm and do some work at the same time.
I think I took about 2 weeks off with my second. Just took her to the office with me.
Well, this is the thing, because you just feed them and they'll go back to sleep for a bit. It's when they start walking that is when you're in trouble and you really need nursery. So at that age, it was fine. That was what my intention was. And then my mum got really, really ill, and then she ended up going into hospital and then got moved to Loros, and all of a sudden, from having cancer and living with it and doing all right, all of a sudden it was like, well, this is the end. So it was really, even though she'd had cancer for a long time, it was very fast at that point. So I'd had I had my newborn, and I was going to Loros daily. Loros, shout out to Loros because they are absolutely incredible. And then she died in Loros after she was there for longer than anyone expected, because she was also an unbelievably strong, resilient, very stubborn woman. So she...
Where you get it from.
Now we can see.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely where I get it from. But she died in Loros, and I thought, well, I don't really want to go back to work right now. So I extended my maternity leave. So I had longer off than I expected. So during that time, I could reflect and think, what am I actually enjoying? And at that time, I had a few self-publishing authors who had come on board for me to do everything for. Whereas the freelancing, I was just having the person who worked in the publishing house send me files, I'd do the work, send them back. Wouldn't know how the book had done, wouldn't meet the author, wouldn't get to go to the fancy pants launches. Like, all of the fun stuff was kind of gone. And although I really loved the production work, it gets a bit samey after a while. So I thought, well, why don't I start increasing the self-publishing authors side of things? And that's what I was doing fairly slowly. And then lockdown hit. And a lot of the publishers I was freelancing for either went into administration or they took their freelancing back in-house. So I lost quite a bit of that work. But I didn't notice it financially because the self-publishing authors had just completely gone through the roof. People had time on their hands. They were furloughed. They were writing really quickly. And because they'd written so quickly, they wanted to get it out quickly. So I was really fortunate that it was just, again, really good timing, that I could then increase that side until I had one publisher left that I was freelancing for. And I was working with a business coach at the time. By this point, it was about 2021. And she said, you do realise the only complaints you have about clients is the traditional publisher, because they want everything yesterday, because if they have delays, I'm the one who has to recoup the time for them. And I'm trying to get my self-publishing authors' work done because they're my priority. She said, but you don't need them. And I was like, but it's regular income because it's monthly payments. Whereas the self-publishing authors, they might write one book a year at the most. I'm constantly having to get new clients, and that is scary.
Yeah, that's such a risk.
So I was thinking maybe I should let it go when that publisher went into administration. And I thought, well, the choice has been taken out of my hands. Obviously, the universe is trying to tell me something. So I'm no longer freelance, and it is purely the self-publishing authors. And since then, it's gone from strength to strength, and I just absolutely enjoy it so much. And the book launches just never get old. I've got one author publishing this morning, and I'm just so excited. My social media posts, I think people are probably going to think, she can't be that excited about everyone, because I always say I'm excited, but I genuinely am. It's a 9-year-old who's written a children's book, and her mum's illustrated it, and the story is so good.
What's the book called?
It's called The Cheese Thief.
We will put
so
it
funny.
underneath the podcast.
Yeah.
So if you send us the link, we will share it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just joyful, and I'm genuinely excited for the paperback copy to arrive, because I'm going to read it to my kids and I know they're going to love it. But I get to work with people that I attract people that are fun to work with. I think because of the way I market myself, I attract people. I enjoy their books, but I also enjoy working with them, and so it's just, I love it. It's brilliant.
That's so
And you
nice.
awarded for that as well.
Yes.
You getting awards all over the place. Tell us about the ones that you're the most proud of.
Oh, the most proud of? That's hard. I don't want to insult anyone. I'm really proud of all of them. The most recent one was a Woman Who Solopreneur Award. And I had applied for those awards. I'm not ashamed to say I applied for the awards for 5 years in a row. And I'd been a finalist 5 times, but I'd never won. And I'd always go to the ceremonies, have an amazing time, but it's also really good networking opportunity. So I always came away with loads, but there's always that little bit of disappointment of, I really want that piece of glass. It's amazing. So in October, that actually happened. And it was just that moment when they said my name, and my face just was a picture, because I was not expecting it. It was amazing. But have been awarded quite a few other things as well. So Small Business Britain are really good at supporting small businesses. I was awarded their, at the time it was called Small Biz 100 and they've rebranded this year, but it was the top 100 UK small businesses. And I got to go to the House of Lords and celebrate. Really fun. And then they do a similar thing for female entrepreneurs. So I was the top 100 female UK entrepreneur, and again got to go to the House of Lords, which is really, it's just breathtaking when you get there, and the views from the terrace are just really lovely, and you're sipping bubbly with the MPs, and it's just,
I bet you were there thinking, was your mum here at that point?
No.
But you were thinking, when she circled that newspaper, she only knew I'd be stood here now.
She probably did.
I know. She was my biggest
amazing.
cheerleader, and that can actually be bittersweet sometimes, because she was always the first person I'd call when I got good news. So whenever I was nominated for something, I'd call her because I knew she'd have the best reaction. So every time it happens now, I do get that little pang of sadness of, I wish I could tell her. The first award I ever won was actually the night before she died, where she emotionally blackmailed me into going to the ceremony, because she'd been so ill and she'd not been talking. She was in bed. And then all of a sudden, the day before, she was sitting up in bed and she was talking. And I was like, what is going on here? So because she was so popular, that I could never get a moment on my own with her. And so my mother-in-law said, right, you need to tell everyone to get out so you can have a moment alone with your mum. And I was like, okay. So I sent everyone away. And the first thing she said to me was, oh, you're looking forward to the awards tonight? And I couldn't believe she remembered, because that was madness. And I said, no. She said, what are you talking about? I said, I'm not going to go, obviously, Mum. She said, why? I said, because you're in here and I want to be here. And she said, look at me. I've got at least a few days left. I'm fine. If you don't come in here tomorrow with that trophy that I know you're going to get, I will never forgive you. And I was like, what? So I rang the organisers of the awards and said, look, this is the situation. I don't know what to do. And they were like, you have to come. I can't tell you why, but you have to come. I was like, okay, this must mean something. So my best friend and my husband came with me. I was wearing a fancy dress and feeling like I shouldn't be here. This feels so wrong. But everyone was so nice and they were so supportive. And I went home, and then the next morning was when I got the call that we needed to get in there and get in there quick. And it's a bit of a teary story, but I went in and she was still with us, and I held her hand and I had the trophy in my hand and I said, I did it. And she wasn't talking, but she squeezed my hand. So I was like, okay, she knew. And that was my first award. So I was like,
that's so lovely. That is
I know, sorry.
Okay, we're all crying.
Doing a Stephen Bartlett on you. Sorry.
Give us the tears. That is so lovely.
Yeah. And these things, you just have to take the positives from it, because it was really, obviously really hard. But there was still, that you can still find these moments of joy, and places like Loros are the best places for that, because when she was first meeting with them and she didn't want to go into a hospice, they said, look, everyone thinks it's a place to die. It's not. It's a place to live. And they're so right. They do such amazing things. Even the little drink trolley they come round with, and they're like, would you like a glass of sherry? Don't care what medication you're on, you may as well. Come on. No, they're so amazing.
So, Jem, what do you love about what you do? What's the real passion in it for you?
The passion is really for my authors. So I work with authors from all different backgrounds, and it's really made me realise that it doesn't matter what barriers, or even perceived barriers, because some people have these blocks that are there. There are ways to break through them or find a new path around them. There's always something we can do. Finding new things I need to do all the time as well. So I'm really pushing for inclusivity in publishing, because traditional publishing is still elitist. There's new statistics coming out all the time. The Bookseller magazine just published statistics about Black authors, which was just shocking how small a percentage they are. And it's the publishers who should be held to account, because they should be attracting authors of all different backgrounds, all different abilities. So I have authors who are dyslexic, who have autism, who have physical or mental disabilities, I have authors from all different kind of economic backgrounds. I've got authors who were told at school that they were terrible at English and they'd never amount to a writer, even though they were passionate storytellers as kids. And I was like, how can you say that to a child? It's mad. And the joy I find is when those authors who've lost confidence because of these things then see that they can do it and they can write their book in the first place and then they can publish it in a way that suits them. So I am there to hold their hand through the whole process. So the editing, I have a really weird brain where with my dyslexic authors, it's like I can interpret what they're trying to say. So I don't change the content, but I can make it make sense. The design and then the launch support. So I'm supporting authors to launch and get excited about their books and to sell well. I had an author last week who's in his 80s and he's got Parkinson's, and there were so many barriers because he's got tremors in his hands, and that makes it difficult just to type or to use a mouse. Luckily, he was a local author, so we could meet up so I could help him with the Amazon KDP account, because there were things that he couldn't do because, for instance, just a really simple thing, they verify your identity by you holding your phone still in front of your face, and then they register when it's taken. It's not like you take a photo. And it just wouldn't register because his hands were tremoring. So I could hold the phone for him. Just little things like that. That's a barrier that there should be a way to work around that to include people with disabilities, and it grinds my gears. So that's what I really want to.
About it.
Yes, absolutely.
So
and
what would you say to someone who was thinking about writing and wanting to be published?
If you want to write a book, you can do it. No matter what barriers are there are so many more tools out there. So, for example, I've got dyslexic authors who've really enjoyed the dictation part of, there's dictation software, but even Word's dictation part has got so much better in recent years. So you can dictate and it will type it out in Word. You don't have to be good at spelling and grammar to be a good author. What you need is a good story and the means to tell it. And the means to tell it is with these tools. And then you need a good editor.
And then you need a Jen.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, but that's what an editor's there for, is to correct the spelling and grammar. That's not your role. Obviously, it makes my life easier if you can have a good go at it first. But you don't need it to hold you back.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes to you, they have their book written. What's the process? How does that look then afterwards?
Yeah, so
We find you online.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So my website, fuzzyflamingo.co.uk, I have packages on there, and the base package is always the design and the launch. So it's the typesetting, which is the interior design, which gets discounted a lot because people are like, oh, it's just a Word document. But no, if you look at your favourite books, they will be really well designed inside, because it's not just about looking pretty, it's about ease of reading. So you need to make sure the spacing between the lines is right. You need to make sure the justification's right, the spacing between the words. All of that are things that I am thinking about when I'm typesetting. The cover design, and then the support with launching. So it's however they want to publish. The majority of my authors publish print on demand with Amazon KDP and Ingram Spark, because for first time authors, you don't have to print a stock of books. The print cost per book is actually lower until you're printing around 300 copies traditionally anyway. So it's cost effective. And you're getting direct to your readers. So it's a really good way of doing it. Then my packages layer on the editing depending on how much support you need. So if you've got a really good editor anyway, then you might not need the top end packages. But if you don't have anything at all, then I can do bells and whistles right from the start to launching and celebrating with you.
On a side question, I'm intrigued because I'm just thinking about how much reading you must get through. Can you read really fast?
I'm not the fastest editor, but I've been labelled eagle-eyed because I've got a
spot
weird
things.
brain. Yeah, I spot things. It drives me mad in my personal life because I'll be going past a shop and if they've got a typo in their sign, I won't go in there because it makes me really, my brain just goes, no. Even though I'm like, it's probably a really good shop, but it annoys me because I don't want to be a judgy person. But yes, it's the inner voice that needs to correct all the time.
If I send a message with like the wrong grammar, the wrong spelling of there or something like that, I have to go and edit it, even though my friends know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely.
But it will bother me.
Yeah, or I send a second message with an asterisk with the corrected what I was supposed to say.
You haven't sent any messages to me like that. I'm like,
No. So I would never correct. I correct my husband because I have to get it out.
Yeah.
And my best friend because they're happy for me to do it. And it's hilarious because now my husband corrects me. If I say something incorrect, he will correct me. And I get like excited because I'm like, you are learning. This is amazing. But nobody else, because I don't judge people. Like we all have accents and we have dialects and we have certain ways of speaking. Absolutely fine. In writing, there are tools that you can use to correct it before you post it. And so I do wish some people would use that sometimes. But again, I wouldn't not use a person's business because they've spelt something wrong. That's
you wouldn't
just
go
not me.
into their business if the
That's too
signage is
far.
wrong. That's too far.
No, I know. I've broken my rules. That was the old judge me. I'm learning. I'm growing as a person.
Which business has the wrong spelling?
It's not there anymore. There used to be a bar in Leicester. I don't want to say the name just in case they've just rebranded, but it was a person's name, someone's bar, and they didn't have the apostrophe.
Yeah, because
But
that belongs to
in
isn't
some of
it?
their menus, they did. So they clearly knew they needed one, but on a massive sign that must have cost money,
Yeah.
they
Or maybe
didn't
there
have
wasn't
it.
You think the sign
possibility
writers
in
would have?
Maybe they were charging per character. I don't know. But
Yeah, that would bother me as
it
well.
bothered me.
Yeah, I'm quite. Yeah, I like when everything is done properly.
The thing, it's not really judgmental in that way. It's more you can see their attention to detail. It isn't probably what you would like. I think it's that.
Absolutely. It's like when you go into a restaurant and the toilets are dirty, you think, how clean is the kitchen?
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally get that.
Okay.
Are you happy for me to ask another question?
Yeah, go on.
So, are you based in Harborough? Are you from Harborough?
So I am based in Harborough, but not from here originally.
Yeah.
I was born and bred in Queniborough, which is a tiny little village the other side of Leicester.
Yeah.
Went to uni in York, went travelling around the world, and then came back to Thurmaston. So I was really close to my mum. Then when she died, we didn't have any ties to Thurmaston other than it being a cheap area to live.
Yeah.
So we were looking for places closer to my husband's work. And my dad lives in Market Harborough, and he sent me a hilarious email with the subject line, 25 reasons to move to Market Harborough. Number one was childcare. And because it had always been me and my mum, like I hadn't thought about that. But him and my stepmom have been absolutely amazing.
Oh, wow.
And then all of the other points, I was like, this sounds like an amazing place to live. And
he knew how to sell it to you,
really
didn't
did.
he?
And it was genuinely 25 reasons, and they were all really valid reasons. So
that's
yeah, it was
cool
great.
He knows his daughter.
Absolutely. But he also loves Market Harborough, so he's part of Creative Harborough, and so he got me on board with them as well, which is a really good support network in Market Harborough. But we viewed a few houses and we just fell in love with it. We're so close to town that it has this vibrant feel of the independent shops and the bars and the restaurants, but it still feels really rural. So we still enjoy our lovely countryside dog walks in the fields and stuff. So it just has the best of both worlds. I love it.
Oh, absolutely. It is a great place to live and work. Yeah.
Been here about six years now. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Love it.
So tell us more about your dad and Creative Harborough. We're quite...
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's a brilliant community. So there are 3 people on the board, and my dad is in charge of the music side of things. So he looks after the busking under the croft, the undercroft, sorry, and various other things. And his latest project, he's putting on a jazz concert in Welland Park Academy in their Octagonal Theatre. So that's coming in September on the 19th. So buy your tickets.
We can add
Yeah,
the
we
link
can
as
also
well.
add details
so
for that. Yeah.
really looking forward to that. But they're really great at, so they have monthly meetings and you go and you talk about ideas for how to support the creative community in Harborough, because it's so diverse. We've got music, we've got art, we've got theatre, we've got all of these different areas of the arts, and so there wasn't really a place where they all came together because they were all quite isolated. And now there's a place where we can go and chat and say, oh, I've got this event, and there are collaborations happening, and it's really, really great thing to be part of. So it's getting off the ground.
Perfect. Oh, when did that start then? When was that created?
So it's been going a little while, but the momentum really started kicking up a gear last year. So that's when I joined, and they started. It didn't kick up a gear because of me. I joined because it was kicking up a gear. I have to say, I'm not on the board. It's nothing to do with me. I'm just happy to be a part of the community.
But you shout about it a lot.
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely, because it is a great thing, and I think community is what Market Harborough is all about. It's supportive a place that is just really lovely. So there are events happening, and so September last year was the first time they did Creative Harborough month. So they had lots of events that were happening with people supporting each other, and they're doing it again this year, which is what my dad's event is part of. But there's loads of different things happening in and around Market Harborough. So keep an eye on their website and their social media pages, because there's just so much going on.
Okay, so Jen, what's next for you?
It's a really good question, because I am just enjoying what I'm doing so much. There is a temptation to just say, well, I'm just going to carry on doing what I'm doing. But there's so much more work to be done. So I'm doing a lot more advocacy for disabled entrepreneurs, but also for my authors, and making publishing more inclusive and accessible. So there's quite a lot in the pipeline. I'm currently writing a book, so I need to get that finished. Trying to be a good example to my authors, saying you can write a book even though you're busy, because you can find time, but it is so hard to find the time. So I'm putting my Writing for Busy Minds workshop into practice. So that's a workshop that I've done, and I want to do more with that as well. So
Have you published books before yourself?
Yes.
As an author?
That's one.
Yes, I have. So my
Is this your first book?
That was, so I had chapters in collaboration books first, and that was my first foray into publishing myself. And then UNFLIP, Changing a Life After a Life-Changing Diagnosis, that was my first full book on my own. And
it's your story.
It's my story. Yeah. So a lot of what we've talked about today is in there. It's about my travels around the world and getting diagnosed with my autoimmune arthritis, and how it flipped my world upside down, and I was trying desperately to unflip it, but there's a reason that's not a word, because it's impossible. So then it was learning to live with it rather than fighting against it, and it's lots of tools of people who might be facing big challenges and how you can not overcome them, because I can't overcome this. You just how to live better with it.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to pick up a copy, because honestly, throughout this, I've just had a million other questions, and I know that we don't have all day. So I will. Where can I get a copy of it?
So on my website is probably the best place to get it. Yeah.
So we share the website as well for anybody who's watching and listening.
And I'll pop a discount on there so that you can get it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so we can have.
I'm going to add that to my holiday reading list.
Oh, amazing. I've had lots of people reading it on a holiday, which is lovely, because it's talking about, because a lot of the countries we visited were hot, and people like reading about travel while they're away. It's been really lovely. I love seeing hot dog leg photos with my book in front. It's great.
I'll have to add to that.
So Jen, what are your dreams?
Oh, I've got a very fizzy brain, so there's quite often a lot of ideas happening, ping-ponging around my brain, but the two that just won't go away are a writing retreat. But because it's me, I don't want it to be a normal writing retreat, which you've seen the films where they're sitting and they're talking about literature and fancy pants books. I want real people writing real books, but who might need tools to be able to do it better. So I want to incorporate ways to clear busy minds and tools to be able to find the environment where you write the best. So that's been pinging around the longest. So I do need to get on that one. And also podcasts, because I love being on podcasts like yours. It's such a joy. And I want to do a podcast about books. But again, something a bit different, not talking about the literature side, talking more about books you enjoy for the sake of enjoying, because that's what we're missing quite often.
Book club.
Yes.
And you could have this studio for your podcast.
Yes, absolutely. It is
Be
lovely.
rented. But there is also something else. You said that you want to be on TV.
He did.
I was like, ooh.
I think delusions of grandeur, maybe. But there are two things that I've done that I enjoyed so much. I would like to do them bigger. So I was on the front cover of Female magazine, but that is newspaper print, so it's not like a glossy magazine, but it was so much fun doing that photo shoot. And I was with two other women, and it was all about embracing pink, so obviously right up my street. So I would love to do a glossy magazine photo shoot. That would be fab. But yeah, being on TV, I was on Sky News for a millisecond, because they came round, they were filming for hours, they had loads of content, they were like, this is great. And then the invasion of Ukraine happened the day that they were putting it out. And so they contacted me and said, I'm really sorry, we're going to have to cut it. We might be able to use it further down the line, but they just didn't have the opportunity. So it ended up just being a microsecond of me. So
whoever's got a contacts.
Yes,
Maybe
get
we'll
me
see
on
you on our
TV.
screen.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a taste for it just because I really enjoyed it. Not because I want my face on the screen, because I'd rather not watch it. But I just really enjoyed the process. So I'd love to do more of that.
Perfect.
Fab. Well, thank you so much. It's been such a nice chat. It's been a roller coaster of emotions.
Sorry about that.
No,
Thank you for
not
having
at
me.
all. We love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jen. Thanks for being here, as always, Linda. Thanks to Harborough Innovation Centre for supporting us and using our wonderful podcast studio, and to Invest in Harborough for also supporting the podcast.
Absolutely.
So we have a couple more episodes coming up in the next couple of months. So we're really excited to get those next guests on. So make sure you like and subscribe. We're on Spotify and on YouTube. And leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you would like to be a guest on one of the next episodes, please get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Or if you know someone who's got an amazing story to tell, then do let us know. And we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Thank you.